am Mush and Mikey.
Rock and Roll Roundtable.
Absolutely presented by our good friends over at Moshman Media.
This week, Spirit of 76.
The bicentennial kind of thing. It's going to be the 250th anniversary of the country this year, the United States. And in 1976 was a big year all around. It was the 200th birthday. It was this and that. And I was a young kid still. I was second grade, whatever I was. But I just remember, because I had a lot of friends older than me, and the music they were exposing me to in that time. They were like close to teenagers, and I was here, sitting at 8 years old. But man, the music was. I just remember a lot of good music that year for some reason, and so we decided. I said, well, it's the birthday of the country kind of thing. Go back 50 years, which dates us quite a bit, but and we both come up with some really good stuff here. So yeah, if you're a classic rock fan at all, if you're Gen X, this is one of the episodes for you because we dive into a lot of the stuff, the meat of the classic rock, and so much packed into one year. It's kind of crazy, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bands that started, some of the best albums of all time, some of the best songs of all time, all packed into the wonderful spirit of 76. So, yeah, I mean, there was some things I found out just in investigating that I didn't know, like the bands that started. And once I started digging into that, I would see the algorithm kick in on me. I seen where Accept was formed in 1976.
Oh, wow.
It's like a half an hour after I was looking into all that stuff, I get a post on one of the social medias about Accept doing their 50th anniversary tour. So it kind of, it matched up. But some of these bands, Accept was formed in 76, Black Flag was in 76,
Wow.
Diamond Head, who Metallica famously covered, Foreigner. Foreigner's been around that long. So it's like 1976. I mean, there's a bunch that I don't really know. One of my favorite obscure kind of goof off bands, the Mentors, were formed in 1976. So El Duce was
Wow.
doing it back then. The Obsessed, who I saw years ago, opened for White Zombie and Prong, and never that kind of got me into doom metal. They
Okay.
were formed in 76. This is Pat Travers, the boom, boom, out go the lights kind of thing. Yeah, he was formed in 76.
Uh,
The one I'm really shocked by was Rat because Rat didn't have an EP or anything until the 80s.
yeah.
So it's kind of like they were formed in 76, but maybe they threw out some other demos that I don't even know of. Maybe.
Were they a cover band at that time, maybe?
Maybe they were out on the strip, doing
I
covers.
mean, was it
It's hard
Rat
to say.
Salad? Was it called Rat Salad at the time?
It was just called Rad on here now, where I
Okay.
found it. Now it could be a different name. Like Kiss was Wicked Lester, before they were Kiss, so it could be something like that. The Clash, one of the great, the great punk bands of all time, were formed in '76.
Oh, my
The
God.
Gods, remember the Gods Rock and Roll Machine, the 714, good old boys from here in the great state of Ohio,
Yeah.
still out doing it too. They just
Yeah.
played it up the road here, last year, year before. So yeah, that was interesting to see what bands actually formed in '76. Now there was only a few major ones that disbanded, but they all got back together. So I don't even count it.
Yeah.
Like Deep Purple and Steppenwolf and people like that had disbanded, but it wasn't permanent. They
Yeah.
all come back into the play. So yeah, so we go over albums, or you want to just hit on the songs? Which one would you prefer to do first?
Mikey, I, I'm going to, all my information today is coming from Wikipedia, but they've
Okay.
got a list of Billboard's year-end Hot 100 singles of 1976. So this is they're citing Billboard. So I'm
Okay.
citing
Well,
Wikipedia, who's citing Billboard for 76.
yeah, I got some information off of Wikipedia myself, so I get that. I think, I want to talk about 76 a little bit though before we get into it because disco was creeping in at this point. And Saturday Night Fever came out in 77, I believe. So
Okay.
it's like, okay, that was when it really took off. But the Bee Gees and Andy Gibb and people like that were like hitting the mark about this time. They were kind of slowly integrating into the mix in the mid 70s. But when the rock side of things, it was a lot of arena rock was kind of taking hold and guitar driven rock and roll was really kind of getting into the mix. Well, as you see with Pat Travers and that kind of stuff, they were pretty popular in the 70s, but the albums that came out in 1976, and a lot of these bands, surprisingly enough, had two albums come out.
Yeah.
So back then, I would figure that was kind of tough to do, but they did it. And some of these albums, I don't remember. I remember the bands, but like Bad Company had one called Run with the Pack. I don't know if that's the one they had a lot of hits on. I'm not familiar so much with Bad Company. Black Sabbath came out. Their first album in 76 was We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. That's a pretty well known album. See, Leonard Skinner came out with Give Me Back My Bullets.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was Leonard Skinner after they had been through the chaos of the plane crash and stuff. I think this might have been their first one back. I'm not saying that's for sure. I just think it is. Sweet had an album come out in 76. Sweet was more popular for me, I think, a little before this, maybe, sort of. Kind of
Okay.
remember. My brain's kind of fuzzy. But Sweet's hanging it up, I guess, this year. I did see that.
Okay.
Kiss's first album release in 1976 was one that we talk about quite a bit. We have talked about quite a bit on the show. It was Destroyer. And that kind of changed a lot of things for the music rock world. That album was chock full of hits for a heavier band, not heavy, but a heavier band.
Yeah.
So that came out the same time frame that Sad Wings of Destiny came out
Oh,
from Judas Priest.
wow.
Now, I'll be honest, I didn't hear Sad Wings of Destiny until after British Steel came out. I didn't really know who these guys were back in 76. But yeah, still knowing that album came out is pretty cool. Thin Lizzy had Jailbreak at the same exact time, almost to the day.
The
I
album,
think they
right?
released it on this, yeah, the same day they released Jailbreak album was the same day that Judas Priest released Sad Wings for Destiny. At least,
Wow.
at least here in the United States. Now that could be different over there. Nazareth had an album come out. I don't remember Nazareth this early. I remember Nazareth more for Hair of the Dog album, but they did have an album this year, so they were around in the 76. This is a good one for you. I don't know. Maybe you could tell me if you've heard it. I have not. Led Zeppelin's Presence album. I don't think I ever. I don't
I'm not
remember.
sure.
Probably we've probably seen and heard stuff of it, but yeah, that album name caught me off guard. It's
Yeah,
like what?
that doesn't ring a
What is
bell right
that?
off the bat.
And one of the instrumentally great albums of all time, Rush's 2112 came
Okay.
out in this time, right?
Wow.
And that's just the early spring of the year. I went kind of get I did them in kind of chronologically just so I could see what was going on during the year.
Yeah.
And one of the bands I had a couple of bands that had their debuts that were pretty damn big, including the Ramones. The Ramones debut was released in 70. And that's the height of Stevie
Wow.
B era, all that good stuff. Also, a band we've highlighted on the show, Crocus, had their debut album was in
Wow.
1976. So it was interesting. One of the classic rock people love to talk about certain albums And even though I'm not a huge fan, this album gets listed a lot as being one of the best albums ever in classic rock. Is Rocks by Aerosmith.
Oh,
It's
nice.
talked
Yeah.
about a lot. This album was out. The first AC/DC album, because they had two this year. The first AC/DC album released here in the United States, anyway, it was the international version, I should say, was High Voltage. That one came out early in the spring of 76. Well,
Wow.
not April, May frame. Rainbow had the Rising album. I owned that for at one time. I don't know how or why I owned it, but I did. Another fantastic album that is underrated in my eyes, Agents of Fortune by Blue Oyster Cult, came out in 1976. I mean, they just keep
Wow.
coming, man. UFOs, No Heavy Petting came out in this time frame. Another album I had was Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. It had the
Wow.
creepy green uh, face. He was green on it. And it had the songs like, I think that was Only Women Bleed and, you know,
Okay.
just kind of creepy stuff. You Can Go to Hell. That song was on there for sure. We've talked about this one probably way too much, but the Boston debut album came out
Yeah.
in the summer of 76. Now we get down a little farther. There's a couple other bands that I know the bands, but I don't know the albums. Like Grand Funk had one. Hawkwind, which was at one point Lemmy's band.
Lemmy's band. Yeah.
But but Motorhead started in 75, so this must be like the post Lemmy deal. I don't know. I didn't listen to it. The second AC/DC album comes out in September. It's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Phenomenal. The same time they release the second album, so does Rush. Rush releases All the World's a Stage in that area. It's just
Wow.
crazy, crazy. Followed up that month in the early fall of 76, Ted Nugent releases Free for All. And I mean, it's a good album, but I didn't really know Ted, to be honest, till Double Live Gonzo came out. I was
Yeah.
hooked after that. That was my thing. Led Zeppelin comes back with another album. The Presence album I didn't know, but the song remains the same. I definitely do.
Yeah.
I definitely do know that.
Yeah.
Another slider that I don't know, maybe because I'm not, I wasn't fully engulfed in the scene, was Technical Ecstasy by Black Sabbath. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
I'm lost. I'm lost
Yeah.
on it.
I don't even.
Styx had a Crystal Ball came out. I was more of a Grand Illusion guy
Yeah.
and Pieces of Eight, but I that had probably Lady on it and stuff. Some of the good early Styx. Kiss had their second album come out later this year. It was Rock and Roll Over, and I think that year is when Kiss took off. I really do because you had Destroyer and then a great album like Rock and Roll Over too. And then the following year was Alive too. So it's like they went from Alive to Destroyer to Rock and Roll Over to Kiss Alive 2.
Yeah.
That span for Kiss, man. That's when I was an Army full blown card carrying member.
I remember seeing them. Uh, was it a photo of them like for the bicentennial where they were done up?
Yeah. Yeah. They had the
And
whole get up, Peter Criss with the
the
drum on the
drums and
side. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I thought that was
that
good.
really that image just it was like burned in my brain during that fucking time.
I had a poster of that on my wall as a kid.
Nice.
The
Nice.
Kiss Bicentennial. Yes, I did. We ain't gonna talk about the clothes my mom made me that year. That's a side note because she made me a bicentennial outfit.
Oh my
It had
God.
the stars and stripes on it. And then she gave me a bowl haircut to boot. I'm thinking, I look back at that school picture and I'm like, what in the hell went through mom's mind? I look like complete dweeb.
Oh my
But
God.
I
That's
was young
awesome.
enough. I got over it. Scorpions had one of the Virgin Killer album. Now, I was not. I don't remember that one much. I remember Overdrive and like the Zoo song, more or less. And then I was more black. Once Blackout hit,
Yeah.
that's when I really jumped on the Scorpions. But Queen had A Day at the Races. That was a pretty, that's a high quality album. And we know, like, my best friend was on that one, yeah, and all that good stuff. So that's just the albums that were I could dig up that were released in '76.
Yeah.
Man, that's a plethora of good music.
Yeah.
I seriously thought I know there's probably some more. I thought Hotel California was '76. I'm pretty damn sure it was, but I can't guarantee that it was. I thought it was, and if it is, it's just adding on to it. That just adds on to the. And I know Rumors was about there. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, which is still one of the best albums of all time in
Okay.
my.
Okay. So I'm gonna touch on some songs. Like I said, I've got a top 100 list. This was for the year. Now, if this information is wrong, I'm gonna blame Wikipedia for
Yeah.
botching it. But we do have let's see, Squeeze Box from The Who,
Oh yeah.
Take the Money
Good
and
song.
Run from Steve Miller Band, Disco Duck made the top
Oh
100
God,
in '76.
that song sucks.
Rock and Roll, I'm just saying,
I
people
know,
will
I know.
remember it. Rock and Roll All Night Live, Kiss.
Okay.
Uh, Song called Junk Food Junkie. We sang that one year for a musical presentation at school when we were in elementary school. So I remember that. Neil Sedaka, Breaking Up Is Hard to Do. Baby, I Love Your Way, live from Frampton. Boys Are Back in
Yeah.
Town from Thin Lizzy. Slow Ride from Foghat. You're My Best Friend from Queen. Bee Gees had Fanny, Be Tender with My Love. Oh, Beatles had Got to Get You Into My Life.
What the hell did they do? Re-release the heaven?
They must have. Rhiannon was Fleetwood Mac. Fox on the Run from Sweet.
Yeah.
Summer by War. Oh, Evil Woman by Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh
ELO.
yeah. ELO, man.
Wings had Let 'Em In. I don't remember that song right offhand. Elton
No.
John. Elton John had Island Girl. Bay City Rollers was Saturday Night. Like I said, one of my
Huh?
favorite songs.
SATURDAY.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh, Rock and Roll Music from the Beach Boys.
Huh. Yeah. I
Oh,
can't remember.
Convoy.
Oh,
Convoy
Jesus.
was
Yeah.
C.W. McCall. Say You Love Me by Fleetwood Mac. Dream On by Aerosmith. Go figure.
Yeah. It's a rock album, I guess.
Chicago had If You Leave Me Now. I thought that was later. But That's the Way I Like It
Yeah.
from KC and the Sunshine Band.
Oh, yes.
All by Myself from Eric Carmen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Captain and Tennille had Lonely Night, Angel Fate. I don't remember that song. Dreamweaver by Gary
Oh,
Wright.
yeah. One
So
of the
there's
best covered songs I ever heard was when Kirk Winstein from Crowbar did that song. And that was beautiful.
really,
But yeah, that
wow.
song itself was always kind of cool. I always
Yeah,
liked it. I mean,
I liked it.
I was I was played in my house a lot,
Uh,
the older siblings.
we've got Golden Years from David Bowie. And again, if this is not correct, you're more than welcome to fact check me. This was from Wikipedia from Billboard's
Yeah.
Top 100 of '76. You Should Be Dancing. Bee Gees, was that
Dancing.
'76?
Yeah, that's probably right. It's before Saturday Night or Saturday Night Fever. Yeah.
Okay. Love Roller Coaster from the Ohio Players. Uh,
Yeah.
we had Sweet Love from Commodores. I don't remember that one right off the bat.
No, I can't say I do either.
Shake, 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 shake your booty from KC and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah, yeah. He was
Okay.
hot back then, man.
Uh, Take It to the Limit from the Eagles. Get Up and Boogie from Silver Convention. But right above
Don't
that
know
was
that one.
Love Hurts from Nazareth.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Uh, You Sexy Thing from Hot Chocolate.
Oh, yeah. You gotta know that.
Okay, we got I'd Really Love to See You Tonight from England Dan and John Ford Coley. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's yacht rock, man. That's my
Yep.
wheelhouse right there.
Uh, they do have Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen, even though that came out in 75. So maybe it charted.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was on Day at the Races. I'm not. Like I said, I wasn't into Queen enough to track albums back
Yes,
then.
at
So.
the time, no. Oh my fucking God. I Write the Songs from Barry Manilow.
Ah, Copacabana himself. Oh, yeah.
Afternoon Delight, Starland Vocal Band.
Best known for Anchorman, the movie.
Yes.
That's the best part of that movie.
Sarah Smile from Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Solid. Yeah.
A Fifth of Beethoven from Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band.
Yeah, that was in a movie too. I can't remember which one, but I think that was in a movie too.
Okay. Love is Alive from Gary Wright. I might remember that one. 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Paul
Oh,
Simon.
geez. Yeah.
Love Machine from The Miracles. Kiss and Say Goodbye by the Manhattan. I do remember that song. That's actually a pretty cool fucking song.
That one I do not know. I probably if I heard it maybe, but I don't know it by
Let's
name.
just kiss and say goodbye. You don't remember that song?
No. No,
Okay. Well,
I'm not a Motown.
I heard a lot more radio back in '76. My parents had the radio
Yeah.
on and stuff like that, so I do remember that song. Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry.
Yeah. Ohio boys making that one hit wonder last for 50 years. Hell
Yes.
yeah. You still hear it today.
December 1963. Oh, what a night. The
Oh
Four
yeah.
Seasons. I do
Yeah.
remember that one. And I'm down to number 3, Disco Lady by Johnny Taylor.
I don't remember that. That's
I
weird.
remember that one. Disco Lady.
I'd
Yeah,
have to hear it.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Number 2 for the year was Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Elton John and Kiki D.
Yeah. I remember
And
that one.
their number 1 for 1976 was Silly Love Songs by Wings.
Yeah, that's a rough number one for me, but I mean, it's not a bad
It was
song.
Billboard.
Play,
It was
yeah,
Billboard, so it's I'm going by their rankings, the Hot 100 charts from issue dates. Okay, issue dates of November 8th, 1975 through October 30th, 1976. There you go.
okay, yeah. That mean, and a lot of the, like I said, a couple of those albums didn't come out before that, so could have changed a little bit. But it's just the for me, it was like I had at home. It was Elvis still, and it was also the Bee Gees and Andy Gibb and Casey and the Sunshine Band. My
Yeah.
sisters listened to. My sisters would listen to that. But upstairs in my brother's room was Rush and Mountain and 10cc and Alvin Lee and all these people, these guitar driven guys. So and then my friends were more into the Aerosmith, the Boston. When Boston came out, I had a neighborhood friend that Man, he was just head over heels in Boston. Played it every time I was at the house. He was
Nice.
playing Boston, and it's just flip it over, play it again, flip it over, play it again, just like constantly. Wore that vinyl to the nub, man. I mean, and it was like I'd never really. I mean, I listened to it. I thought it was pretty cool and blah blah blah. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but man, that's so
Yeah.
monumental. Now, my brother, I remember him being excited about an album, real excited about an album he brought home. It was Frampton Comes Alive. And I didn't know who Peter Frampton was. So my brother would, he was a lot older than me. So he would go out with his friends or whatever. I'd sneak up in his room, slide that real careful because I don't want my brother to, he would have killed me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd put it on there and slip the old, long corded headphones on. And I was like, that was really, I mean, that was great.
Yeah.
Once I heard it the first time, I'm like, damn. So I actually saved up my own money for my allowance and bought it myself
Wow.
because I didn't want to keep screwing with his stuff and get killed in
Yeah.
the action. But it was like, yeah, that was such a great album. And the Boston album's the same. I just didn't appreciate it at the time. And, in 76, with everything that was going on, like at our school, they did a time capsule because, they opened it like 25 years later. And I was actually going to go watch them open it. I slipped my brain. I
Right.
forgot. So it's like, yeah, it's just cool stuff like that. And the spirit, the patriotic. I mean, the 70s were kind of rough. I mean, we know we
Yeah.
lived through them. They were kind of harsh. Our parents had it hard. We were kids. We didn't give a shit.
Yeah. We didn't
We
give a
were
fuck.
eating dirt, drinking out of the garden hose, waiting for the street lights, all that good stuff that you hear every Gen X talk about. That was my life as a kid. But man, just that year for some reason, it was just everybody was proud to be here, American, and you had a lot more festivals and parades and all the stuff that was great to go to as a kid. And then when you see all the badass music. Even the funky, Casey and the Sunshine Band, for what he did with that, he was a genius with it, man. It's like it's not my everyday listening, of course. But when, back then, he had it nailed pat. He had that shit down. And there was a bunch of them. The Bee Gees were huge in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's like that whole soundtrack that came out the following year was Saturday Night Fever. That's a disco staple, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't get a better disco
Well,
album.
at, considering everybody hates disco, everybody in rock hated disco. The two big albums, you know, KC and the Sunshine Band, my parents had that, and that fucker got played all the time. All the fucking time.
It was fun.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
disco. Love it or hate disco. It was fun music. It was like it got played so much around me that I learned to accept it. I
yeah,
liked Donna Summer was one I listened. My friends I had a next door neighbor that would blare that shit, and it's like I didn't go over and say, "Oh, you're twinkle toes," or that music sucks. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, I was 8 years old. I didn't really care, but it was like, oh, I can go listen to that, then go in and listen to Kiss in the basement. It's okay. And some of that stuff still gets played daily on the radio. I mean,
Mike.
the disco stuff. So
My aunt was. I had an older one, and then my dad was the middle kid, and then my younger aunt was quite a bit younger. So she's
okay,
maybe 8 years older than I am. She was a teenager and she had all those singles. I am playing it
yeah,
on a record player. So whenever we would go visit and I would sneak back there and she'd be dancing and doing whatever. And I remember that too. Like Sweet and Bay City fucking roll. It's like, man, she had
yeah.
that shit playing that whole fucking time in the late 70s, 76 on. I remember that shit vividly. and put them little fucking records that you got to put the little
Yeah.
thing in and pop it on. She had that shit going constantly. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it was.
props to my aunt. You know,
Yeah. And yeah, there's so many of those singles in our house. It was more singles than albums, really. My brother was more the album collector. Now my sisters were more of a singles
yep,
collector.
yep.
I had 8 tracks. I had eight
Oh
tracks
my,
and I had some vinyl. I'd get an album every couple weeks from my mom or they would go to the store and they'd pick me out. That'd be like a gift. I'd get an album every couple, at once or twice a month. That was the only thing I really asked for. I didn't ask for, like today you got video games, you got,
yeah,
PlayStation cards and all. I didn't have any of that crap. If I wasn't outside doing whatever, I was in the basement listening to Ted Nugent, Kiss, Three Dog Night, the whole gamut. And then Peter Frampton came later. Then, of course, Boston was after that, closer to 1980. But
yeah. Well,
when
all
once
right.
Don't Look Back came out, I really did more.
All right, so just a little sidebar before we wrap shit up. Do you think that '70s show was pretty accurate for the music and the style and what was kind of going on at the time? Do you think that was a pretty accurate representation of the
I think
'70s from
clothes.
your
I think
memory?
clothes wise, yeah, because we had some funkadelic clothes in the '70s, like a bicentennial outfit that your mom makes for you.
Yeah,
But yeah, some other, maybe I wasn't around like the weed that was going on in the '70s. They do that
yeah,
a little bit on that show. The music is kind of like some of it hit, some of it did. I mean, it was just like probably depending on where the show was. They were supposed to be in Wisconsin, right?
yeah,
So maybe it was different up there than it was Ohio per se.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't watch every episode of that show, but what I saw, it wasn't too far off. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. In some neighborhoods, it was probably spot on.
okay,
Mine was a little more not poor, but we were definitely lower middle class. We weren't
yeah,
like going to we didn't have Red Foreman around. We had a couple guys that were like him, but they were a little more vocal than Red was. They weren't so nice. I mean, dumbass was that would have been a compliment for me, as I was a foul mouthed 8-year-old kid. I was f bombing all over the neighborhood when I was a little tyke. So it's
yeah,
like that was a little different in that eyes, but it's not a bad.
okay,
It was fun. You remember the fun times because
yeah,
as a kid, I had a blast in the '70s, not knowing what bullshit my parents were going through. But it's still, I had a
yeah,
good time.
okay.
That's all I remember.
Well, because when people ask about the '80s, and usually we're pretty quick to fucking dispel the rumors or no, it wasn't really like that, or where we grew up, it was not like that. And usually you go, okay, you got the '70s show, and you've got Dazed and Confused.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Dazed and Confused was pretty accurate. The open air dances and all that, but
okay,
I wasn't going to them until early
yeah,
'80s.
we
So
were real young, so that
yeah,
we
yeah.
were too young for that, but again, you had older brothers.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure he went to that stuff, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I would. The '70s were kind of dirty, but they had good music, and it was kind of carefree for me back then. So yeah, I'm happy to be a Gen Xer. I think I grew up in the best of times because today's kids they're not getting the same kind of diversity in music. I don't. I think we had a lot more diversity in music that was transcending from KC and the Sunshine Band, all the way through Boston and Kiss and Rush. And now it's like the real heavy bands are there, but there's nothing really danceable in it. It's like it's rap or it's pop, and it's just boring. So yeah, that's just my opinion. There's probably people that love Katy Perry and all that. I'm not one of those. So
Well, I mean, you look at the popular music, Elton John. Wings. I, you know, there was,
Yeah.
even though it's not in our general, it was rock to a point.
Oh yeah. I mean, they had its
So
moments.
you know,
I mean, a lot of people don't consider Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles rock. I always have.
yeah,
But I mean, they're not heavy or nothing, but they got enough to them, and they are not heavy at all. But man, I love. I'm a yacht rocker though. You
yeah.
know? So it's like it makes a difference. I love a yacht rock too. So yeah, it's all over the world. Everything and anything, music, I can handle it.
So get out there and dive back into some of those hits from '76. I listed a whole bunch. Mikey had albums. Some great albums came out. So just go back into Wayback Machine, and here in July we'll have a big celebration for America's 250th, and we're just wanting to dip back into '76 for the 200th. So
Yeah, I like revisiting my childhood.
yeah.
It definitely feels pretty good. Yeah,
All right, Mikey. So let's wrap it up.
got it.
All right, this is Skeet.
I am Mosh and Mikey.
See ya!
Peace out.